Hello and welcome to another one of my EV Rambling series. Today I'm going to try to create a Nissan Leaf used buyer's guide. The Nissan Leaf can largely be considered one of the best electric vehicles on the market today. It's the best selling in the world. It's been available for basically the longest, and there are a ton of them on the road for you to buy used. They were first produced in late 2010 and they're still being produced today in 2016 in essentially the exact same exterior. There have been a lot of changes though to the car itself throughout the, I guess the 6 years almost it's been on the market. And so trying to buy a Nissan Leaf can be quite difficult to decipher what they came with. So I'm hoping this will help you in your decision. I purchased a 2012 Nissan Leaf in 2013, and it was a transition. The 2011, 2012s were all made in Japan, and the 2013 year they decided to start producing the cars around different parts of the world. North America, the UK, obviously still Japan. And so there was a kind of a big transitional gap there, and the car really wasn't selling as well as they had hoped for. So I got a huge discount on this car. I love it, it's been great, but I kind of wish I waited a little bit and actually got the 2013, and I'll try to explain why that is. So, if you are looking for the car, the first 2011-2012 year only came in two trims, SV and SL. There wasn't a really big difference between the two. One of the biggest, a few things that might tip you off about the SL is there's a solar panel on the top here. This just maintains the 12-volt battery, accessory battery. It doesn't really do very much, but that's one way to kind of differentiate between the two. Nissan, for some reason, decided to leave any badging off the back of the vehicle of like the model designation, like SV, SL. It shows up on basically every one of the other cars. I'm not sure why they didn't do that with the Leaf, but it just adds to the confusion. So let's say you want to buy a Leaf. The 2011-2012s are actually very inexpensive right now, especially compared to the other years, and there is a reason for that. They made a ton of changes and big improvements in the 2013 model year. In particular, they changed the motor a bit, the configuration, in that you get a little bit less torque, but it does work, it works out to more energy savings, and the car is still very enjoyable to drive. I was hoping to have a 2013 here. My friend has a 2013 SV. He couldn't make it though, so we'll just have to do. Probably the biggest thing though is the heating system. In 2013, if you buy an SV or an SL, and that goes for 2014, 2015, 2016, they have a heat pump heating solution. This system is hyper efficient. Even in winter, you're probably going to use maybe a maximum of 12% of your capacity. In like a 2011, 2012 SV or SL, you could be using 30 to 40% of your battery just by heating the cabin, because the heater is so efficient. So this is one thing that's actually quite misunderstood. In the 2013 year, Nissan also introduced an S trim version. This was to be kind of the, they wanted to lower the price and they wanted to entice more people to come into the car. So it's almost like a 2012 car that's had a few things pulled out of it. The S model throughout all the rest of the Nissan Leaf product line, so up to 2016, does not come with a heat pump system and is not an option. So if you are in a climate that might require some heat in like the fall and winter, I would strongly advise avoiding the S. It's just it's a kind of a nightmare actually, and I really wish this car had the heat pump. One way you could tell between different models as well is the rims. When 2013 came out in the SL trim, they had a much nicer 17-inch wheel. This is a 16-inch. Now, like in the newer years, like the SV comes with this type of model. This was the highest end wheel for the 2012. It's a 16-inch. So let's see, what else? When you're actually trying to buy one of these cars, what should you look for? You should obviously look for tread on the tire. Most electric cars use a really hard tire to give it a better economy, give you better range. You don't want to put like a standard 200 tread or 300 tread wear tire on this car, so make sure they haven't been replaced with the improper tire, because you will have reduced range. Headlights. Some of the models came with LED, some of them came with standard like halogen bulbs. I believe in 2012 it was an option on the SV and it was standard on the SL trim. Obviously, having LED saves power. If you're going to do all the nighttime driving, you're going to probably want the LED lights. They also look really good. They look like a really nice HID light. And let's see what else we have. So look for the headlights themselves. Okay, so I wanted to move to the front of the car to talk about a few important things here. To help you identify what type of trim you're looking at, you can look at the fog lights down here. That was a standard option on the SL trim. On the SV, I believe it's optional, and on the S it's optional as well. I'm not even sure it's an upgrade option on the S trim. So there's not a lot, but you're going to want to look at a few things under the hood. So to open the hood, just go inside the car, just like any other standard car. Pull the hood open. The switch itself, it's on the left side. Just pull up on it, and the hood comes up. And the prop rod's here. Get in. So, if you notice the motor that I have here, this is a 2012 and a 2011 model motor. You can tell because it has like this valve cover type looking piece. The newer one has like a big plastic cover on it. It's a lot simpler in design, but this is an immediate telling you that this is a very first generation car, the 2011, 2012, before a lot of the upgrades were done. Now, another important thing to look at, if we go back in the car, we're going to pop the charge port. On 2013 trims and newer, on the key fob itself, there was an extra button to actually electronically open that. That's not an option in 2011, 2012. It's just little things that might make you appreciate the car a little more. Now, this is an SL trim, and in the United States, every SL came with 2 charge connectors. The standard level 1, level 2 charge, and then the rapid charger. On Canada, for some reason, even on the SL trim, this was a $600 option. When I bought this car, they were on extreme discount because the 2013s were coming in, and everyone suddenly started buying them up, and I couldn't actually get one that had that charge port. I didn't think it would be a big deal, and I really regret it. So now that a lot of these are on the market, and there's a lot of non-dealership selling these cars, a lot of salespeople don't know what they're looking at. And if you say to them, does it have a level 3 or a DC fast charger or a CHAdeMO, they're probably going to be a little bit confused. And a lot of places are not going to take a picture of this being opened. They'll take a picture of the hood or of the engine, but not of this. So there's an easy way to tell whether the car is equipped with the fast charger. Now, if we go in, you can see there's one orange set of connector here. That is going to the level 1 connector. If there were 2, one right beside it, that would mean that this car is equipped with the rapid charger. So even if you have a little picture from the side here or a view, if you just see one orange connector there, then you know it doesn't have the rapid charger. Now, I'm not saying that that's something that you need to have. Just be aware of it. It can enable you to go a little bit farther distances having the rapid charger. But of course, if you're just using it for a purpose, like just commuting like I do with this vehicle, then it's not really as important. There's a 12-volt battery, which I mentioned that the solar panel hooks up. This would be just like any other standard 12-volt battery. It essentially runs a lot of the accessories that are in the car. Obviously, if you're buying used, make sure that it's in good condition. Now that the cars are, could be up to 6 years old, that battery could be wearing a little thin. There's not a lot else, though, if you were trying to buy a used Leaf that you actually need to look under here for. There is a cooling fluid, which basically just cools the electric motor and everything in it. It's very low maintenance. You don't get the extreme temperatures that you do in a combustion vehicle, so you want to make sure that if you're looking at it, there's a minimum maximum line, that it's well within those limits. There is actually a tiny bit of oil in every Nissan Leaf. It's in like the I believe it's in the transfer box or the transmission box, and it's basically non-service. It's about 120,000 kilometers. I believe the service manual recommends you replace it, so you shouldn't have any need to do that at all. I don't even think there's a way to check it. It's kind of something you'd have to take to the dealership to get replaced, so you don't really have to worry about that very much. So yeah, with that, let's close this hood. And let's move to the back of the car. Okay, so just like in my Chevy Volt buyer's guide, we're at the back of the car now. Unlike the Chevy Volt, there is no exhaust system or muffler to look at or anything. The Nissan Leaf, because it's a full electric car, is really simple. And actually, buying it, as long as the car drives fine, there's very little risk in buying it itself. So, a few things to look at the back. There is a rear view camera here. This is the 2012 SL. It came standard with that. There is a possibility to add the camera after the fact, depending on how it's equipped on the inside. But it's up to you if you need it or not. The visibility through here is actually pretty good. It does help navigate, obviously, a little bit. So you can tell because it has this little hump here. If the car isn't equipped with it, it won't have a camera. Also, I guess if I move to the front a little bit, they added a more like 360 type degree surround in later years, and there's little cameras equipped on the mirrors as well. So a few tips, like any used car, you obviously want to look for rust, and I'm not sure this would ever be an issue, but if we come right down here, there's these little mud flaps that are located here. There's a little hole here, and I noticed that, especially, well, in Victoria when it's rainy and there's a lot of dirt on the ground, that thing just gets packed with mud. If I have the hose, I'm washing the car and spraying it in there, I'll let go and just mud will just pour out. I'm pretty sure it's just plastic in there though, so I don't think there's much concern, but it might be an area you want to look at. Besides that, the brake lights are LED. I believe this is standard on all of the trims, even the S trim. And to get into it, just lift it up. So inside the trunk, this is an important spot to look at. Ignore the base tube, I added that after the fact. But in 2011-2012, there was this big hump here, and there's electronics for the vehicle. You can't reclaim that space. In 2013, they moved that to the front of the car, and you actually gain significantly more trunk space in the 2013 and newer years. Once again, this is just something that, you know, being an early adopter, you don't really get to be part of that. Obviously, that can make a big difference if you want to carry a lot of luggage. But with that said, there still is a lot of trunk space. There is something here, though. This always should stay in the car. This is your level 1 charger. You want to make sure that your car, the Nissan Leaf, that if you're going to buy it, has this charger. This plugs into any 120 volt wall outlet, and it charges your car. It charges it slowly, but it charges it. That's considered an emergency charger. So if you are happening somewhere, like there's electricity basically everywhere, and you could plug into somebody's house, let's say, if you needed to charge. So that should always stay with the car. You're going to want to make sure it's working as well. They've tested it. Besides that, there isn't a heck of a lot in here. So if I come up, there's a little in the back side here, there's a tire repair kit. The Nissan Leaf does not have any spares, as with most electric vehicles. It has a little kit that you could use to repair your tire and get you to a tire shop to get it either fixed a little more permanently or to get a new tire. There is a handle right up here. Let's pull it down, just grab it and pull it down. One thing I have noticed as well is the rain channels. So the rain comes down here and exits out the bottom. Right up here, there's a little ledge, and that tends to be like a catch-all for all kinds of crud. There's a bolt there, so I don't know, I guess you might want to make sure that the bolt isn't seized or that there's not too much garbage in there. I'm not sure that water could still enter the car, but one more thing to look at. So that kind of rounds out the back of the vehicle. What else? Well, I think what we should do is go inside the car and talk about it a little bit. There's a few things you could do inside the car if you actually ever get to sitting in the vehicle that you're thinking about buying, that you could check out before you buy it. Okay, so moving into the car. The interior of the 2011-2012s only came in this very light color. It's largely made of recycled material. It's really comfy. It actually seems to be wearing really well. Also, I think it's quite rugged. The sides are really nice and soft as well. It's comfy inside. Starting 2013 and newer, you can get it in a black trim, in cloth as well, but they also can get leather. The leather only came in the really dark black interior. The stereo in 2013, you could also get a Bose stereo option, a high efficiency, really nice loud sound. Prior to that, the speaker system is made by Clarion, and I believe in the SV trim it was like a 4-speaker setup. In the SL it was a 6-speaker. The Clarion system is just average. It's okay, like it's not anything awesome. I obviously added the bass tube because I thought it was missing a little bit of the low end. There are seat heaters for the back, located. There's a little switch here, and in the front there's one for the left, right. Other options which may or may not be in the car, down by my left knee here, there's a steering wheel heater, traction control on and off, and there's also a charging timer. Down here you could adjust the headlights. And so first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn the car on. Like every other electric vehicle, put on the brake, there's a power button down here, and the car will come on. So Nissan is one of the only manufacturers that actually decided to put a physical gauge on their dash of your total battery capacity. This is kind of unheard of compared to any other manufacturers. They don't want you to know if you've lost capacity. Nissan's okay with it, which is surprising. So if we look at the dash, you're going to look over here and you see that I have 74 kilometers remaining, and you're going to see all these little bars on the side. These bars here relate to how much charge capacity I have. These outside bars are how much capacity the car had from when it was new. So there's a total of the, God, damn it, so there's a total of 12 bars. As the car ages with any electric vehicle, it actually starts to lose a little bit of battery capacity. And depending on the situation, it can be accelerated. In this car, in the entire base of it, is the battery pack. If we look down behind me here, this is actually the access panel to get at the full power disconnect for the battery pack. You want to make sure that's snapped in, but you have to get the bolts. So you have to take some bolts out to get at it. So 2011, 2012, there really wasn't any change to the battery itself. The battery is air cooled. There's no liquid going through it. This is really different than, once again, than basically any other electric vehicle. A lot of them have relied on some sort of thermal management to keep it cool. This, I'm sure, was to save costs and to make the car lighter, but it actually resulted in kind of a big time issue in really hot climates. The battery kind of cooked itself. It got too hot and it had extreme premature battery loss. A lot of these vehicles have actually found their way up into Canada, into the market. They're incredibly cheap. Like we're talking, well, you can get one probably for $14,000 right now, which for a car that was around $40,000 or plus new only about 4 years ago, that's an extreme price discount. And you might be tempted to get it. And you know what? It possibly could work for you. But you're going to want to find out what your state of your battery is. The easiest way is to get whoever's selling the car to charge it fully. Plug it in for overnight or whatever and let it charge all the way until you can't charge anymore. If these bars over here do not go all the way to the 12th bar, you've lost capacity. As you lose capacity, obviously your range goes down. The battery warranty from Nissan Leaf is 8 years. And that's pretty good, but you have to have a certain level of capacity loss. I believe if you've lost 4 bars, so you're around 8, you're still okay. Once you're down to 7 bars total, then the warranty kicks in. And it's only guaranteed to bring you up to the 8th bar. I think that's right. I'm just going from the top of my head. Obviously, if you've lost about 20%, 30% of your range, that's going to affect how far the car can go. that can still work for a lot of people. A lot of people are well within 40 kilometers of driving per day. The car would just still dominate for that, and you would get the car for a deal. But just be aware that you could have very reduced battery. Now, this was still an issue in 2013 and 2014 with the Leaf. In 2015, they finally came out with something that they termed the Lizard Pack. The Lizard Pack was a new battery chemistry which was designed to handle the extreme temperatures. They weren't going to be able to add a cooling system to this car. It just wasn't designed for it. So coming up with a new chemistry system was probably their best solution. I'd be surprised, though, that in the second generation Leaf, which is probably going to be a 2017, maybe a 2018 model year, if it doesn't have a more robust thermal management. In terms of heating the battery, though, in 2012, there came kind of like a Canadian winter package, which is almost like an electric blanket was put on, which can heat the battery. I believe this only comes on in minus 10 degrees Celsius weather, though. So like in a climate like Victoria on Vancouver Island, I would never use it. And if a battery does get too cold, you do lose a significant amount of capacity. Of course, you regain that once the battery warms up. So obviously, looking at the dash here, it's important to look at your battery capacity. You also can find out what the mileage is on it. Down here, there's a group of 4 buttons. As you push this little square one, it cycles through different screens. Average economy, you can see that right now I'm getting an average of 6.5 kilometers per kilowatt hour, which is pretty good. I can see what the average speed of the vehicle has been, and the lapse distance. There's other maintenance and alarms you can skip through as well. That's kind of a handy thing to see. Maybe if the person's average economy has been really low, you might want to question that maybe they've been kind of hard on the car. Now, moving into the screen, there's a zero emissions button here. This takes us to all kinds of information about the vehicle itself. Similar thing, this has energy usage. It'll tell you how big of a hit if you turn the climate control on. So right now this car has a 74 kilometers of driving range. If I turn the climate control on, I immediately lose 16 kilometers. I go to an energy economy. This can be reset, so be careful, but this is, once again, kind of mimics this screen over here. There's historic, based on your kilometers per kilowatt hour. So if we go back to the screen, there's other options in here. Now there's something called, there's nearby stations, and this one can actually bring up your current location, how many charge points there are, how far they're away from you, if you could reach them. Really great feature. This relies on something called CarWings, and I believe Nissan has changed it for the 2016 year. CarWings is a cellular service which can download data to your car and give you all kinds of information. Most of the electric vehicles that are coming to Canada, especially the Nissan Leafs, are brought from the United States because a lot of EVs weren't sold in Canada and a lot more in the US, and the US has very aggressive deals in terms of leasing and buying options. Really the only cars we can get if we want to buy used in Canada are from the United States. And the CarWing system will not work, and there's no guarantee you can get it to work. There are ways to make it work, but it could stop at any time. And I don't really think it's that huge of a deal, but Nissan also farms a lot of information from this, so it is in their best interest to get it working, so they could just kind of see how people use their car, how they've been aging. It can also send information to Nissan to flag saying, hey, you do have an issue with the car, and it could help with servicing. So besides that, there's not much inside of the vehicle that you actually need to look into. Some of the cars have the built-in garage door opening into it. Auto dimming was an option. These are all things that you are going to have to look at, and unfortunately that's just the thing with this car. You're going to have to do a lot of research. So to finish off, I guess if I was to make a suggestion, I'd probably steer clear of a 2011 or 2012 Nissan Leaf for most people, especially if it's your primary car. Don't do it. Get at least a 2013. Also, you need to get the SV or the SL trim. I don't care what anybody says, and there's so much confusion on this. A lot of used car sales places will tell you that an S trim has the heat pump. It has a heater, it does not have the heat pump system. That's only an SV, SL trim option. You need the heat pump system. I envy anybody who has that. It's just such a battery drain, especially in the winter, to have that heater on in this car. That's why these cars are equipped with a lot of things like steering wheel heaters, seat heaters, because they're a lot more efficient to heat than it is to heat the air. You can just live way more comfortably in a car with a heat pump. Lastly, if you're in a hot climate, I don't know, I'm not sure I'd get a Nissan Leaf that was before the 2015 year with the Lizard Pack, and then trying to find a used 2015 might be a little bit difficult. I guess if you're keeping your car in garage cooled parking, wherever you're going, like at work, at home, it might not be an issue. Or maybe you're okay with the premature battery loss. Maybe that it's just a short drive and you get the car cheap enough that you could justify it. It's just these are all things that you're going to have to think about when buying the car. So I hope this helps you with your purchase decision. I'm pretty sure I got everything right here. If I didn't, let me know. And obviously, if you have any questions, please comment and I will respond. I respond to anybody who comments with a question. Also, feedback is always really appreciated. Some person said I sounded like Mr. Agent Smith from The Matrix. I guess I do kind of have that going on. I was going to wear like a suit and those glasses, but it's a little bit too nice out to wear that today. My next video, I'm going to try to do a driving reaction in the car. I've had, if you look at my channel, I have driving reactions for the BMW i3, the Kia Soul EV, and kind of for my Chevy Volt. And I haven't really done anything with my Nissan Leaf, even though it's the longest EV I've had. My wife primarily drives this vehicle. I actually don't get a lot of seat time. So I would kind of like take it for the same drive that I take the other cars, talk about how the vehicle drives, what it feels like, and maybe that can help you with your decision as well if you're going to buy one of these vehicles. It is an excellent vehicle, and please try it out. Just try not to be as confused as the people selling them usually are. So thanks for watching, and let me know if you get one. Bye.